Hey guys, today I am joined by two of my good friends, Sel and Stuck from our sister alliance Z, otherwise known as the best Blitz alliance in the game. So much so, people are accusing them of using bots. But these are the two masterminds behind their success, and today they're going to share some of their secrets with you, some of the knowledge that they have around the Blitz mode in anticipation of the Wong Blitz coming up on Thursday. So that's why I wanted to get this out to you in time. But first things first, guys, why don't you say hello?
Hey. Hey, thanks for having us, Dorky.
Alright, thanks for coming. You guys were very adamant that you want to be able to help the community up their score, up their potential, maybe help the people who are inundating themselves with this kind of stuff to reach a new ranked reward on Blitz. I think that's fantastic. But first things first, we got to show these guys what you bring to the table. All of these 5 lists are the most recent new character blitzes, and as you can see, this is the top 100. It's just all their alliance. Their alliance of 24 people takes up about 10 to 15% of the top 100% leaderboard. I know everyone on there talks super highly of you. Right off the rip on this one here, we see Stuck got rank 9. I believe this was for a little bit of a later one because you were still named Blitz Z there. That might have been T'Challa. And Sel's here at 15. Another one, I actually got ranked 100 because I started following you guys at a very limited capacity. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen when I follow you more religiously, your opinions. But first things first, everybody just wants to know the teams. They want to know what teams they should use. So we're going to go through the teams. Sel and Stuck are going to give their opinions on these teams, whether they should be kept together, broken up, and why they should be broken up. They got 5 seconds, so it's like a speed lightning round. We'll get more into these things in later videos because we do want to go in depth in some of these topics because there's a lot of rich material there. But here we go, Sel. You're on the clock. Let's go.
Break apart, it's too strong.
Okay.
Keep together. Break apart, they are too weak. Break apart, too weak. Definitely break apart, too weak. Another break apart, too weak. Keep these two guys together, but I think soon we may be breaking them apart for being too weak. I broke them apart, they are too weak, but just barely. These guys keep together. Break apart, too weak. These can also be broken apart. They're too strong. And I like to keep these together. And sadly, this is a break apart, too weak. This is a break apart, too strong. And another break apart, too strong. Break apart, too weak, even though they are the Apex team. We gotta keep together here.
Alright, moving on to Stuck.
Keep them together. You take Shang-Chi off. Break them apart. Way too weak. Break them apart. Power crept. Break them apart. Too strong. Keep them together. Break them apart. Power crept. Break them apart. You can keep them together, but probably not too much longer. Keep them together. They work better as a team. Keep them together. Also work better as a team. Break them apart. Too strong. Break them apart. Way too strong. Break them apart. Too weak.
Oh, come on.
Good team with T4s. Keep them together. Keep them together. They're going to be good. You can break them apart, but just pull Beast off. Keep the rest together. Keep these together, but they'll need help. Break them apart.
All right, so that is our last team. I'm sure you guys noticed a trend there. It's basically like new characters or your super OP characters like Shang-Chi. They're gonna be broken apart because they're too strong, and they're gonna be divided into these teams that are a little bit weaker. That's going to be an ongoing trend as we get new characters in the game. Like you said, we're going to be breaking up the Darkhold. I completely agree with that. They have a lot of great upfront damage. So, now that we looked at the cookie cutter teams, we have a pretty good idea that pretty much everything is getting exploded so that it works all together. We're getting, our 38, now 39 wins with the introduction of this patch. So as far as single carry characters go, I got these 4, but you guys have so much more. What other characters do you like for solo carrying?
Yeah, like Stuck mentioned, Shang-Chi is another great option. He can carry pretty much any team.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Another one I like to use is Silver Surfer. He's just a great solo character. Can go up against pretty much any other character. Another one, Kestrel, does pretty well. Ultron. Deathpool's okay too. And of course, Doom, one of the best solo single character carries.
What about Dormammu? You guys have any experience with him?
Not yet.
No. Yeah.
Working our way there.
Yeah, me too. What about you, Stuck? Got any dad?
Dormammu's definitely a carry, right? Gonna help Surfer. But yeah, I mean, those are the strongest single carries where you don't have to take weak stuff with them.
Right on. All right, so now we're going to work our way into some power couples, because those are some solo carry characters that you can throw with any kind of team and really boost their potential to win. And then there's power couples, characters that have so much great synergy just with one other member that together they can carry a much heavier weight load. So we got 2 here. We got Nebula and Gamora. Looks like they're about to fight, but really they're about to help you get some points. And then, of course, the Eternals. What other kind of power couples do you guys use in your Blitz rotation? And we start with you now, Stuck.
Adam and Moondragon are good together. They can carry on their own, but as we getting more teams, you can definitely pair them together. Sam and Sharon, the 2 of them are great together. They can carry a team. Cloak and Dagger, of course.
Yeah.
Gwen and Miles, they actually have good synergy together. So if you're going to break out your Web Warriors, they're perfect. And then if you take the other 3 together, it's not so much a power couple, more of a triple, but they're good. You also have Lady Deathstrike and Silver Samurai. She can do the work and he can hold them back, so that's great. Also, Phoenix and Colossus.
Right on. Any dad, Sel?
No, Stuck took them all.
You ball hog. All right, so after power couples and solo carry characters, there's some auxiliary characters. This one confused me for a little bit. Sel, why don't you walk me through the definition of an ancillary character? I don't know why I call it an auxiliary character.
They're not someone that can really carry the team exclusively by themselves. They kind of like elevate the team and make the team better by them being there. So it's not like you can just go in, put her with like your aim team and you're gonna win like every battle. I mean, maybe you could, but you put her with like Shield Wave 1 or something, and the synergy she has with them, she brings to the table stuff that team needs.
Okay.
So that's kind of like the idea. Same with Spider-Man. He's another good example where he just has a really good kit where he's putting out defense down and speed down to everybody and stunning and dodging a lot of attacks that he can help uplift a team. He's not going to carry a team by himself, but in combination with other members, will definitely make the team better.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know I mirrored Stuck's roster, and I have Spider-Man with Pym, which makes a lot of sense because he's giving defense down onto the Pym tech, who are pretty weak, but hitting to defense down, they can get some kills pretty quick, especially with Ghost. People have pretty big Ghost, and that kind of gets it carried over. And then for Maria, like you said, we have them with Wave 1, or at least Stuck does right now. And I actually haven't lost with that team whatsoever. Because like the counter heals you get from Maria, and just the minions doing all the retaliations and everything, it works really well. So yeah, I guess I guess the definition is like a character that can go with a established team that you just kind of pluck the weakest member out, you throw this person in, and what it brings to the table is enough to get them wins against like big punch-ups, but probably not like other cookie-cutter meta teams, I would assume.
All right.
Right on. All right, and then our last classification for carries is weak carries. So, Stuck, what's a weak carry?
Yeah, to keep it in the simplest terms, it's somebody who opens up with an AE or has a lot of survivability. The idea would be you're going to take them with your lowest, right? So if you got level 1s or if you got 20k powers, take them with them. Because what will happen is, like Ghost Rider's a great example. He'll open up with his special, kill 3 people. Anybody else dies, he'll retaliate, wipe the board. So it's just a really good low carry. You don't want to take them with too high though. Folks like Miles, Ghost Rider, Elsa, Wolverine, Sabretooth, and Zemo all fit into this mold.
Right on, perfect. Nice, quick and concise definition. So now we're going to talk about some more in-depth aspects of Blitz. So we talked about teams that we're going to break up or leave together. We talked about carries. Now we're going to get into the weeds. So make sure you drink your coffee when we start talking about this. The mirror effect. So basically what the mirror effect is, your team mirrors what the enemy team is going to be. Not character-wise, but power-wise. So, Sel, why don't you break down what the mirror effect entails as far as the distribution of power to the enemy team?
So when you generate a team, it's based off the team you have selected. And so it's going to like statically apply a certain set of criteria based on what rank you're at. So if you're at 8.3, like here, it's going to say, hey, you have Thanos. Let's generate a character based off of this team that it found another play using. So it's like, okay, let's generate Loki's power and stars and everything based off of your Thanos. That goes in and it's like, okay, well, he has a 7 red star Thanos, so it's going to be a 7 red star Loki. He has a T15 Thanos, so since this is 8.3, we're going to make it a T16 Loki. And so it kind of goes through all the characters, applying that logic to each one.
Yeah. So yeah, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, this is 8.3, like you said. What it does is it gives 1 extra gear tier and 1 extra red star to the mirrored opponent. Now, if you're at 7 red star, obviously it's not going to give an 8th. But it will give a tier, and this will even include tiers 17, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It does, yes.
Right on. So that's the mirror effect. So when you're generating a team, just know that's how it's getting created. So when you do a team like we were talking about earlier with weaker carries, like if you have 1 Miles and a bunch of level 1 characters, the enemy team is going to be 1 big opponent and then 4 level 1 enemies. Same kind of deal. All right, so that's the mirror effect. Now something that, if you really, really want to get tryhard and min-max, there is the power variance effect. So this could be used to increase your score, but it could also be used to avoid difficult matches. So basically, well, Stuck, why don't you walk us through this?
So when you generate the team, that team will stay static until you change like what we call a power tier. A power tier up or down is when a new seed of 3 teams will generate. So what you can do is you can generate a team with, like on the top left would be the Skeleton team, right? But you can still kill that team with somebody 9% lower, like in the top right, and get more points, right? You have an easier matchup, you would take that. And this is a common tactic we use all the time, where our struggle teams, if we generate a easy win, we'll jump right over to that struggle team and take the easy win. You can take more points. There's a lot of ways to manipulate this to better your rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you can use it offensively for that, and defensively if there's just no winning at this power tier, like you said. So when I generated this team off my Skeleton, nothing in a 10% variance of that Skeleton team is capable of beating the team on the right. Ignore what the team on the right is, because that's not a very strong team. But if that's the case, well, I'll jump 10% up or 10% down. That'll generate a new power tier, and then I can avoid that headache matchup. Right on. Okay, so that's the power variance effect. Well, that's what I call the power variance effect. Now we got to talk about picking the right matchup. So we talked about generating your teams. We talked about how to min-max your point score or to avoid something. But when you're actually picking the team you want to fight, there's a couple red flags and a couple green flags that indicate, hey, this is a great matchup to take. Like you said, you can generate a team and then swap over to one of your more problematic teams and get an easier win. This is what I would say is a good example of a good matchmaking to take. Sel, why don't you walk us through why you would consider this a good match?
Well, like you have on your slide, a good example of a good team to pick is that none of them will have ISO 8. I'm not sure why that happens sometimes, but that's something to keep an eye out for when you're looking at your matchups is, does this team not have ISO 8? Because that's going to give you a big advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is making sure that the big character, and the example of choosing a team where you have like a big strong carry and a bunch of weaker characters, is that the team you're going up against, you want to pick a team that your carry can beat the other team's carry.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had like a Wolverine, for example, as my carry, he would demolish his other team because he can easily beat that Thor. And then another thing to look out for is the fact that some of these teams just have no synergy at all. You will find all kinds of crazy mismatched teams that do nothing, and those are the ones you want to beeline for and take those.
Yeah.
Also, there's a thing where the problematic characters that are in the first two slots, which would be the middle and the back right, those are the characters that the AI is going to attack first. So if you know that those are the problematic characters, your team's going to attack those first. So you could potentially get rid of those before they become a problem.
Right on. Yeah. To your point, when you're talking about like those crazy mismatch teams, I like to call those the beginner teams of people who quit the game. Because that's what it is. It's a bunch of Electras, Crossbones, Spider-Man, Luke Cage. And last time we had a conversation, we talked about the litmus test to make sure your save squad is a good team. Why don't you tell us who the litmus test team is?
Yeah, so I use the defenders. If my team can't beat defenders, then I scrap it. The only exception that I have to that rule is Brotherhood. They don't consistently beat defenders, but they're pretty reliable otherwise.
Right on. All right, so now let's look at a not so good matchmaking. Just looking at it off the rip, you would instantly know this is not a good matchmaking. But Stuck, why don't you walk us through some red flags that you would notice and then not attack a certain team?
Yeah, like you said, that the ISO, right? If they have any ISO, even if it might not be right, like kind of what we're seeing in the picture for some of them, but it's a contributing factor, right? It's something you have to contend with. The large characters, if they're meta characters, if they're good, they can crush you. And let alone 5 great ones. You just never want to take something like this ever.
Yeah.
And the synergy here is off the charts, right? I mean, we use these guys in war and in every mode, so they work really well together. And the problematic characters again. So what you're going to be tapping into first, you want to make sure that you're not hitting a brick wall. So this is definitely not a fight you would ever even consider taking.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Especially with that big Zemo, tier 17 just popping you right off the gate. So here's something that, again, is a little more into the weeds. Blitz charge usage. There's a way to manipulate your Blitz charge use so that you're getting the most extra attacks in. Because Blitz charge points that you get is a lot more than people think. We're talking in the millions per Blitz event, if you will. So I'll take this one. For Blitz charges, you want to hoard 500 for your chosen Blitz. So I knew Wong was coming this Thursday. I stopped using any kind of charges on Monday or even before that. But say I had been using charges, well, I'd stop on Monday to make sure I have 500 by Thursday. And then on the Thursday, I know that we're going to have the challenge, the supply run challenge, which is the one you see in the middle here, where it gives 90 Blitz charges. I'm not going to cash that in first thing in the morning. If you do cash it in, it'll convert to gold, which can be useful when you're not trying to blitz for your character, but otherwise it's 270 charges, which is 10 extra blitz fights. 10 extra blitz fights is so much when you have these max powered teams. And then we also have 100 that we're going to get from the villains daily. That's when you do 3 villain missions. Make sure you don't collect any of these before you start tapping into the horde that you had. So let's get a little bit more into the weeds, talking about blitz charges. And just, like, Sel, walk me through when you are starting a new character blitz, what you're doing with your blitz charges.
So you go into the blitz with your 500 charges plus the additional 370, and so as you're blitzing, I usually do like 3 runs that night, and I use those charges to reset any bad power tiers that I have. So if I go through all my teams and I'm running out of teams and I got a few teams left and it's just all bad choices, then I will switch over to one of my blitz charge teams, because that's basically a guaranteed win, and then that'll reset all my options for when I go back to my rotation. So yeah, you just burn through those charges as you need them, and at the end of the night before your reset, then you want to just go ahead and finish off using all 370 of those charges and then collecting it from the challenge and from the objectives. So that way you're going to the next day with 500.
Yeah, so that you're using them kind of as like a get out of jail free card. So we talked earlier about the what I call the power variance effect, where you can jump into a different tier and then try and get a more favorable matchup. Well, sometimes, especially when you're nearing the end of your blitz rotation, you no longer have those windows to jump in and out of. So instead of doing that, you go ahead and select one of your biggest, most powerful teams that you know can win against any other team. You squash that, you generate 3 new matches for yourself, and then you just rinse and repeat until you've finished your rotation. So this is something that you guys taught me that I'm going to implement against Wong, because at first, my first rotation, I was just ripping through the 370 charges. But I did find myself getting stuck at points, so I agree with you wholeheartedly that using your blitz charges to get out of those sticky situations is the better call. And then stuck for the rest of the day. So not on day 1, days 2, 3, and I guess technically there's day 4. You're kind of doing the same kind of thing where you're holding your 500, and if you get to the end of the day and you haven't at least dropped your 100, then at your last rotation, you're going to spend 100, collect that villains campaign.
Yeah. You can't ever exceed 500 unless you're purchasing them.
Yeah.
So you always want to make sure you're burning them so you're staying efficient. But through Friday and Saturday, I'll often use 200-300 cores just using this technique. Because the idea is I don't want to lose, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to do anything I can avoid to lose, especially when I know it's a loss. So that's the strategy we use. And usually you come out on Sunday when you're going to get the extra 370 again, if 200, 100, and it's perfectly fine.
Right on. I will correct, you said cores, you meant charges, just so no one gets confused.
Charges, yeah. Avoid cores.
Yeah. So, save squad organization. I think there's 3 options. Maybe you guys know more. I was doing option number 3, and I kind of adopted yours of 1 and 2, and I felt it was a little bit cleaner. So our 3 options: strongest to weakest, weakest to strongest, and number 3 is varying by 10% collection power. That was also the hardest one to organize, because you had to basically go with a calculator and make sure that each team that was next in order had a 10% variance either one way or the other, and preferably not like a 300k team, a 400k team, and then another 300k team. Because if you had 2 unfavorable power tiers in a row, then you were just getting it again. So strongest to weakest, talk about the benefits of that, and then I'll chime in why I liked it better than the variating one.
So I like to do strongest to weakest. I like to start with my strongest picky team, the team that I usually find it harder to find matchups for. And so I will start with them and I'll work my way down to the next pickiest team. Because I want to get these bigger picky teams out of the way to make sure I'm getting the points for them and not losing with them later when I get impatient.
Right, makes sense. So yeah, if at the top you have symbiotes, well, they're not the best Blitz team in the world, so even if they are, say, weaker than your Shadowlands, maybe you'll try and get your symbiotes done out of the way first, so that if you do get stuck on a symbiotes tier, well, you'll default to your Shadowlands, clear that, then jump back on symbiotes, find a more favorable matchup. Am I reading that correctly?
Yep.
Okay. And Stuck, what are you doing?
Strongest to weakest.
Yep.
And my weakest teams actually are on the bottom of my roster. One of the advantages when I use them too is if I lose, because we all lose, we're not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
We try to be, but we're not going to be. It's nice to lose there, because then you can build back up. It's pretty bad when you lose at the top, right? And then you have to not only climb 3 more tiers, but you're losing points because you're worth more points with those teams at the higher tiers. So if you lose, you do want to lose at the bottom, not at the top.
Yeah, and I'll just say the first rotation of a Blitz event, obviously you're going weakest to strongest, and because you have your save squads organized in such a way with that new filter system that we have, you just click the left arrow instead of the right arrow for your first rotation, and that's the only difference. So here's a quick look at the save squads I'm using. I did copy and paste off Stuck. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but you said you would be willing to share your save squads with my Discord so people can kind of gauge and see some teams. People's rosters are going to be different, but it's a vague outline, and it'll give you some ideas to make some better Blitz teams. Right on. So
yeah, absolutely. We'll share. And like you said, everybody's roster is dependent on what you have. So you want to build around that. These are just ideas.
Yeah, for sure. So an important thing to talk about, mental health, happy wife, happy life. Happy wife, happy life. It is a little late, sorry guys. So rotation management. When you're trying to be competitive, you want to hit as many rotations as possible. For me, when a new event starts that I'm trying to go hard on, I need to get at least 2 rotations in, and I cannot stay up for a third, otherwise I'm sleeping on the couch. Because my wife's not going to let me stay up till midnight on the phone in bed. She's going to kick me out. And then I'll do 6 rotations consecutively, starting at 5 a.m., which is when I get up for work. And then I basically have...
Early.
I'm a truck driver. I got to hit the road. And then I basically have like 3 hours or so where I'm on a permanent cooldown because I've done my 8 rotations. So Sel, what's your rotation management like?
So I don't wake up early, so I try to stay up as late as I can to get in as many rotations as I can. Usually that ends up being about 3 rotations. If I'm feeling pretty energetic and awake, I might stay up for a 4th. That doesn't happen too often, but it is nice when it does because then I finish early the next day.
Yeah.
So usually it's 3 rotations once it starts, like the night it starts, and then 5 the next day.
And Stuck, you?
I try to do 3. Sometimes that doesn't always work out. Get a little tired and fall asleep. Yeah. But I always fit them in. Usually on these new blitzes, I'm pretty, hyped for it anyways. So 3 then 5. And the 5, what it affords me is that most of my afternoon's open, so I can take care of what I need to. And that just works out best for my schedule. But you always want to fit it around what's best for your schedule.
Yeah, that makes sense. And when you are competing, the rotations are so important. We were talking about this the other time. A bad rotation is better than no rotation. So if you are going to have a rotation where, say, you win only 75%, but the alternative is just not getting an 8th rotation in for that day, definitely take the bad rotation. Especially because then it's mindless and it's not as big a hassle on your mental health. But yeah, so rotation management is important, guys. Make sure you map out how you want to get it done. No one wants to set those 2-hour timers, but that's kind of part of it. So understand your limits. We're going to talk about this real quick, just kind of mapping out the maximum potential for your roster. Then I'm going to do a live rotation. And if I lose, you're going to get to see these boys roast me and tell me what I did wrong, and it should be some fun. So understand your limitations. I'll just read this one. So find your account's maximum potential for 1 rotation. So that means win every single fight. This is how you're going to find your maximum potential. You're going to multiply that by the amount of rotations you're willing to do daily. For Wong, I'm going to be doing 8 rotations. I'm going to multiply that by 3. That covers all 3 Blitz days. Then we're going to account for Blitz charges. This one's a little bit more difficult. I can say on average, my teams that I use Blitz charges for, like my Infinity Watch, Weapon X, big hybrids, they're pulling in about 110k per win. And I just did some quick mental math, and I think if you hoard your Blitz charges and you collect appropriately your daily challenge on Thursday and on Sunday, and your villain challenges, you're getting around 1300. I'll check that to make sure before we do the calculation. But you're going to add all that together, and that's going to be your account's current potential. So, like I said, we are going to run a quick run right now. So, let's go do a live rotation. So here we are. This is my account. We're starting at 12.6 million. So we're going to see what the variance is on that. And right off the bat, I actually prefer a Wave 1 Avengers as to a Defenders with my Symbiotes. Seems to get a little bit easier for me. And then Defenders Litmus Test is definitely better than those two.
Yep.
Shadowlands. Oh, we got the Defenders again. But you know what? This one... Oh, no, that has more on it. We'll just do this. So far, so good. Now, if you notice, there is a point difference per team. So this one gives 96. This one gives 102. I could definitely beat either of these teams with Black Order. So if you're trying to min-max, try and keep an eye on that. An extra, 5,000 points over the course of all 3 rotations could be insanely beneficial. This is risky, so let's see what happens here. There's a reworked character. It went well. I think Beast did a lot of lifting there. So you had us break apart our Astonishing X-Men. I think that's a great example as to why that works. Ravagers get it done. We have a Hela versus Astonishing X-Men. I can just go ahead and take the first one that looks like a good win. So it's also an important thing, you guys can speak to this, about knowing the game, knowing about certain mechanics and certain teams, how they interact with each other.
Yeah, every time a new team comes out, we play them.
Yeah.
Right? And we get used to it. Because you need to understand the mechanics so you know what you can beat and what you can't.
So I just had a couple matchups, 3 of them that I didn't really like. So I went ahead and I jumped over to a different power variance. And now what I'll do is I'll jump back up to my higher power. And so this is also pretty good when, pretty important for events like we have now for these cauldrons. I'm going to be able to maximize my cauldrons because I can maximize my wins. Instead of dropping down tiers, I can just get through it. This is a little bit of a risk, but Lady Deathstrike is going to get a kill on Greg and just pop off there. So a good example of why that power couple is super strong. And then, see, I don't really like any of these 3 off the rip. Symbiotes, they're not super strong, but they're strong enough to give me pause. And I'll drop down another tier. Oh, don't like that. Oh, no. Better safe than sorry, right, guys?
I probably would have hit that Mantis one.
Yeah, all right.
Mantis doesn't scare me.
It's the Wolverine that scared me.
When you're in the start of your rotation, you can afford to skip more.
Yeah.
Until you become very impatient. Because we all become impatient. Oh,
yeah. And I guess we should talk about like the general time that it takes to do a full rotation. So we talked the other day, like a good rotation could take 3 minutes if everything's popping off. What do you guys think a bad rotation takes?
Hopefully not more than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So I guess from
if it's going more than 10, I start to get real impatient. I'm just whatever sim.
Start clicking.
Yeah.
Big Hulk is kind of scary. That worked out. That must have been the power of Winter Soldier on that one. See, I knew this one was going to be a little scary too. The power couples freak me out sometimes, but they work. Can't hate on it if it works. That was the mirror matchup. So, like, Marauders without Madeline or Sabretooth struggle a lot. But otherwise, they're a solid team if you put one of them on there. So I guess, just from another time perspective, going back to that, what do you think a realistic time for a full Blitz event is if you're doing all 8 rotations?
So I get, me personally, if I'm being try hard, it's about 5 to 6 minutes of rotation. What is it, about, I want to say 2.5 hours roughly in a new character blitz that I'm blitzing, right? That's over the course of the entire event though. It can vary though. You know, sometimes you get those really lucky runs, and then there's other times where it's 3 metas, 3 metas, 3 metas, and all you're doing is using your blitz charges over and over again to reset it. But it happens and it slows you down.
Yeah.
But I think it's reasonable to expect 2 to 2.5 hours out of an event, maybe less, in order to, you know, score your highest potential. Again, if that's not for you, don't, right? Get any blitz hits in you can. That's good enough.
Yeah, and just to put a monetary value on it, the ranked awards that you get from Blitz, if you do Scopely math, getting 1% is the equivalent of $50 to them. And they probably put a ridiculous price on their red stars, so I can only imagine what they would consider that. I think my camera just died, but it popped back up.
Yeah, if you're free to play, Blitz is, and you have, you know, a decent roster, even if you're just new and coming up, it's the best way to get shards. A new character release for somebody who's in the 13, 14, 15 millions, or even higher, of course. If you're getting the 1%, that's 242 charges, or 242 character shards that you didn't pay for, right? So it's, while it is a tedious, you know, mode, and we acknowledge that, we definitely do. If you're gonna do it, right? If you're gonna do something, do the best you can within reason, with what works in your life. But you know, every time we see a Blitz release, we're having a party, because that's money in my pocket.
Yeah, I don't have to open up Red Star Orbs either.
Yep.
Oh, I just had a question at the tip of my tongue. Oh, what do you guys think is the TCP cutoff for being able to hit 1%?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Because I feel...
Go
ahead, Stuck.
No, I go off of, I try to stay in the community as much as possible on Discords talking about Blitz, where we try to help. And seeing them talk, you know, I've heard some 13 mils, 14 mils, 15 mils doing it.
Wow.
I don't know exactly what they're doing to do that, but they're hitting it. Now, I think on the new character blitzes, when we have a drought, like a good example of that was like Gwen, where we had 3 months drought. Yeah, I think you had to be like 18 million to hit 1%, because everybody had blitz charges saved and everybody was hungry for it. So it does depend on the character being released too.
Yeah, a bio solution was highly sought after then as well. I can only imagine what the tech solution blitzes are going to be like. And you gotta know we're going to have one of them. So I am running into some problems here as we get to the end of the roster, doing a lot of bouncing back and forth. So I'll include a timer because I'm kind of paying attention as much as possible. So this is kind of accurate to what a bad rotation would look like, even though I'm still winning everything, which is pretty important. See, new Agatha. Always remember, when characters get reworked, start looking at them sideways in the blitz, because a big Wolverine and a big...
Do it.
No, that's gonna... I got the litmus test. With the strong cage. My Colleen should do that. There you go.
Are you right?
Oh... Tough teams. Tough teams. That one's not so bad. Okay, there we go. We seem to be through it. And obviously, BlueStacks is super slow as well. So when I'm on my phone, this is actually also even quicker. And I'll also mention, I very quickly copy-pasted the teams. They're not positioned optimally for synergies and such. Oh, this is perfect.
While you're going, one thing that you can do is your level 1s or your really low characters, you can throw Skirmisher on them. Because if they get even 1 tap and the mark stays, it's still 10% damage for your carry or your bigger characters to use, or also to use their double tap if they're striker.
I hate this because he's in the last slot, but...
Yeah.
It's the last
Well, he's
fight.
gonna taunt.
We gotta
so.
risk it. Yeah, it's true. Hey, we got through it. All right, so that was 38 wins. Technically, I do have Agatha unlocked, so I can make a 39th team, I think. But I don't have any kind of carry ready for that team right now. So we're up to 15,000. So that was a giant jump. I actually don't remember what I was at the beginning, so I'm gonna stop recording. I'm gonna go back and check, and then we'll be right back. All right, and we're back. So I was just over 12.5 million. We're now just over 15.5 million, which leads me to 2.9 million on one rotation, and that included 0 Blitz uses. Blitz charge uses. So I think a fun experiment would just be to show you what kind of points I get off of a common Blitz charge team. Now, you can have set Blitz charge teams. I know Steck and Sel do, and what they do is, because we ran out of slots, I believe you guys said you're shoving them in this tab right here, this general use tab.
Yep.
Okay. What I have done is I kind of just picked the top 5 characters because I know this is going to win. We'll go here, and this will net me about 13,000 points. So I'm going to go away for a second again. I'm going to calculate the total Blitz charges you get for free. See, I have 700 right now, but we're going to drop that down to 500, which is what a free-to-play would have. I'll calculate the total Blitz charges you can accumulate over an event. I'll divide that by 25, which is the cost per extra fight, and we'll times that, but we'll round it down. We'll times that by 100,000, and we'll add that to our total potential. Alright, so let's do some quick math. We started with 500 Blitz charges. We're going to add 270 from the challenges, the supply run. We're going to add 100 for the villains, and that's just Friday. So that leaves us to 870. We're going to have 3 more days of the villain campaign, so that's an extra 300. And then on top of that, we get one more supply challenge on the Sunday. That leads us to having 1,440 Blitz charges total. We'll divide that by 25, which is the cost of one fight. That leads us to 57.6. We round that down to 57. Like I said earlier, we're going to multiply that by 100,000 because we're doing 57 fights at 100,000 points. 5.7 million points extra to your potential. I did not think Blitz charges added that much. Does that sound right to you guys?
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to take that number and we're going to add that to my total potential, which I just had written down was 2.9 million. We're going to times that by 8 rotations. We're going to times that by 3 days. And that leads me to having a 69.6 million potential with my roster if I won every single thing. We'll add that 5.7 to the total. And 75.3 million is my account's Blitz potential with using 0 charges, free to play, and doing 8 rotations. So that would get me very, very handedly into the top 1%. And I think I could be competitive into the top 100 with that. Maybe with a couple charge uses, because I did get it once, but I think top 100% is probably moving pretty high up there, wouldn't you say? Especially, it's been a while since we had a Blitz release.
I think
what's the top 100 usually?
70 million-ish. It's right. It's going to be a little bit of a sliding scale over time. So maybe 70.5 at this point. So I think it's very realistic for you to get top 100 if you need the 4th gold, red star.
There you go.
Yeah.
So as a reference, guys, I did just cross over the 20 million power. So use that as a ballpark. If you have been sleeping on Blitz, but you're around that, you want to try and hit that 4th red star on Wong, now's your chance. Use what Sel and Stuck taught us today. Go forth, get it done, and that's what we got for you guys today. Anything you want to add, guys, before we take off?
Good luck.
Yep. Get your Wong.
Yeah, get your Wong, guys. Get your Wong nice and big. These guys are going to have their save squads in my Discord. I'll have that in the description below, and I'll throw it in the comment section too. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Give a big thumbs up to these boys for coming and helping us, these Blitz bros, as they'd like to be called. And yeah, stay happy, healthy, have fun, and we'll see you next time, guys. Peace.